I used to think that a perfect daily vlog needed a perfect morning. You know the kind I'm talking about. Soft morning light coming through clean curtains, a quiet kitchen, the gentle sound of water boiling, a beautiful glass cup filled with fresh iced coffee. A neat notebook with 5 simple goals written down. For months, I tried to give you those exact clips. I edited out the noise, I cut the moments where I dropped my spoon, I pretended my life was a calm instrumental playlist. But today, life had a completely different plan. Today was loud, today was chaotic, today my perfect routine fell apart before 7 o'clock in the morning. And honestly, I am so glad I kept the camera rolling. Welcome back to another day in my life, a real day. No filters, no fake smiles, just real moments. Grab your favourite drink, sit back and let us talk. My alarm rang at 5:30. I always set it for 5:30. I like to sit in the dark for 10 minutes before I touch my phone. It gives my brain time to wake up. The apartment was completely cold. The sun was not even up yet. I reached for my camera on the nightstand. My hands were freezing. I pressed record. I adjusted the lens. I wanted to capture that quiet morning aesthetic. You see it on social media all the time. Everyone seems to have their life together at 6 in the morning. I stretched my arms. I put on my grey hoodie. I walked into the kitchen on tiptoes because the floor tiles are always freezing cold. The first step of my morning routine is simple. Fill the kettle. Grind the coffee beans. Wipe the counter. It is a slow ritual. It helps me feel grounded. But as I opened the top cabinet to grab my coffee beans, my sleeve caught the edge of my favourite ceramic mug. I saw it happen in slow motion. The mug tipped over. It hit the marble counter. It bounced once, and then it shattered into a dozen pieces across the floor. The sound was so loud in the quiet house. I just stood there. My camera was sitting on the tripod behind me, recording every single second of my shocked face. That mug was a gift from 3 years ago. It was not expensive, but it was my daily mug, my morning mug. Suddenly, my peaceful morning was gone. Instead of sipping warm coffee in silence, I was on my hands and knees at 6:15 in the morning, picking up sharp pieces of ceramic with a flashlight. I almost turned off the camera. I really wanted to stop recording. I felt annoyed. I felt irritated. My routine was broken. My smooth start was ruined. But then I looked at the lens. I realized something. This is what life actually looks like. Life does not care about my aesthetic schedule. Life happens while you are busy trying to make everything look pretty. So I kept the camera on. I swept the floor 3 times to make sure no tiny glass pieces were left. I threw away my broken mug. I did not make fancy coffee. I made quick instant coffee in a plain red mug that I usually hide in the back of the cabinet. I sat at my small kitchen table. The coffee was too hot. It did not taste as good, but I drank it anyway. I looked at my to-do list for the day. I had 6 major tasks written down. Edit 2 videos, go to the grocery store, answer 30 emails, clean the living room, work out for 45 minutes, read 20 pages of a book. Looking at that list made my chest feel heavy. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we pack every hour of our day with so many expectations? By 8 in the morning, I was sitting at my desk. My plan was to work for 4 straight hours without any distractions. I put my phone in silent mode. I turned on my laptop. I opened my editing software. Everything seemed to be going fine for about 30 minutes. Then my phone started buzzing. It was on silent, but the vibration on the wooden desk was loud. It was my landlord. He told me that someone needed to check the water pipes in my building. They needed to turn off the main water supply from 9 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. No water for 7 hours. That meant no drinking water from the tap, no washing dishes, no using the bathroom easily. I looked at my unwashed coffee mug. I looked at the dirty dishes in the sink from last night that I had promised myself I would wash after breakfast. The frustration was building up inside my chest. First the mug, now the water. I stood up from my desk. I walked around my tiny living room. I felt like everything was pulling me away from my schedule. Have you ever had one of those days? Days where it feels like the universe is actively trying to interrupt your plans. I decided I could not stay in the apartment. I needed fresh air. I needed a change of scenery. I packed my laptop, my charger, my notebook, and my camera into my backpack. I decided to walk to a small cafe down the street. I do not usually go there on weekdays. It is usually my weekend treat, but today I needed an escape. I put on my shoes, I grabbed my keys. I stepped out of the door and I locked it behind me. As soon as the key turned in the lock, my heart sank. I checked my pocket. My wallet was not there. I looked through my backpack. No wallet. I had left my wallet on the dining table inside the apartment. And my door locks automatically from the outside. I was standing in the cold hallway, locked out, with no wallet, just my laptop, my camera, and $7 in cash in my jacket pocket. I stood in that dim hallway for almost 2 full minutes. I did not laugh. I did not cry. I just closed my eyes and breathed in deeply. It was so absurd that it felt like a comedy show. I had 2 choices. I could let this completely ruin my mood for the entire day. I could sit on the concrete stairs and feel sorry for myself. Or I could accept that today was not going to be a productive day. Today was going to be a strange day, a day full of unexpected detours. I called the building manager using my phone. He told me he had a spare key, but he was currently across town running errands. He would not be back until 11:30. That meant I had 2 hours to kill. 2 hours with $7 in my pocket, standing outside my own apartment building. I walked out of the building entrance. The air outside was cool and crisp. The sky was cloudy grey. It looked like it was going to rain at any moment. I walked down my street. Usually when I walk down this street, I am in a hurry. I am usually listening to a podcast, walking fast, looking down at my phone, trying to get to the subway or the store as quickly as possible. I never really look at the houses. I never look at the trees. But today I had nowhere to go. I had no place to be until 11:30. I walked slowly. I paid attention to the sound of my shoes on the damp pavement. I smelled the wet earth from the small garden near the corner house. An old man was watering his flowers, even though it looked like rain. He smiled at me and waved. I waved back. I noticed a small bakery that I had walked past 100 times before, but had never actually entered. The smell of fresh bread was coming out of their open door. It smelled like warm butter and yeast. It was the most comforting smell in the world at that moment. I checked my pocket. $7. I walked inside the bakery. The shop was small and quiet. An old woman behind the counter greeted me with a warm voice. I bought a fresh cinnamon roll and a simple drip coffee. It cost $6.50. I had 50 cents left in my pocket. I sat at a small wooden table by the window. I took out my camera. I set it on the table. I did not record a fancy voiceover. I just recorded the steam rising from the coffee cup. I recorded the raindrops that finally started hitting the window glass. I took a bite of the cinnamon roll. It was warm, soft, and perfect. It was probably the best thing I had eaten all week. Sitting in that bakery, watching the rain fall outside, I realized something important. My morning had felt like a total failure because I was clinging so tightly to my routine. I was so obsessed with control. I wanted my mug to stay unbroken. I wanted my water to stay on. I wanted my schedule to go perfectly from 6 in the morning to 9 at night. But when all of those things broke, space opened up. Space for this quiet bakery, space for this warm pastry, space to just sit and watch the rain without feeling guilty about work. We live in a world that tells us to optimize every single minute. Every morning must be productive. Every afternoon must be efficient. Every evening must be restorative. We read books about daily routines of successful people. We watch videos of people waking up at 4 in the morning, journaling, meditating, working out, and drinking green juice before the sun comes up. And when we fail to do that, we feel like we are falling behind. We feel like we are not trying hard enough. But real life is not an optimized routine. Real life is full of broken mugs, locked doors, and unexpected rainstorms. Real life is unpredictable. And sometimes the best moments are the ones you never planned for. By 11:30, the rain had slowed down to a gentle drizzle. I walked back to my apartment building. The building manager was waiting by the front entrance with his warm smile and my spare key. He unlocked my door. I stepped back inside my home. The air smelled a bit dusty because of the pipe work, but it felt so good to be back inside. I put my backpack down. I set my camera on my desk. The main water was still off. The dirty dishes were still sitting in the sink. My editing work was still waiting on my computer. Nothing about my actual responsibilities had changed. But my mind felt completely different. The panic from the morning was gone. The frustration was replaced by a strange sense of calm. I sat down at my computer. I opened my editing project. Instead of rushing through the video, I took my time. I edited slowly. I listened to the quiet sound of the drizzle outside my window. I worked for 3 hours straight without looking at my phone once. No social media, no checking notifications, just focused, simple work. When you stop fighting the day starts working with you. At 4 in the afternoon, I heard a loud hiss coming from the kitchen pipes. The water was back on. I walked into the kitchen. I turned on the tap. Clear, cold water came rushing out. It felt like a small luxury. Something as simple as running water felt like a gift because I had been without it for 8 hours. I washed the dirty coffee cups. I washed the dishes. I wiped down the counter where my mug had shattered earlier that morning. I realized that we take so many simple things for granted until they are temporarily removed from our lives. Tap water, a working key, a solid mug, dry weather. We walk through our daily lives expecting these things to always be there. But when they disappear, even for a few hours, their return feels like a celebration. By 6 in the evening, the sun was starting to set. The grey clouds in the sky turned into soft shades of pink and orange. I opened my living room window to let the fresh, cool air in. I did not go to the gym today. I did not do my 45-minute intense workout. My body felt tired from the morning stress. Instead, I unrolled my yoga mat on the living room floor. I did not follow a complex routine. I just stretched my back. I stretched my legs. I sat in silence for 15 minutes, breathing slowly, watching the sky change colors through the window glass. It was not a high-energy workout. It was not something that would make a cool fitness vlog segment, but it was exactly what my body needed today. Sometimes taking care of yourself means pushing harder, but other times taking care of yourself means knowing when to slow down and accept your energy levels as they are. For dinner, I did not cook an elaborate meal. I did not follow a healthy recipe from the internet. I looked in my fridge. I had some leftover rice, 2 eggs, a bit of garlic, and some green onions. I made simple fried rice in an old pan. I added a splash of soy sauce and a little bit of chili oil. I served it in a plain white bowl. I ate it while sitting on my floor, leaning against the couch, watching an old movie that I have seen at least 10 times before. The food was simple, hot and delicious. The movie was familiar and comforting. The apartment was quiet again. The water was working. The floor was clean. As I sat there eating my dinner, I looked at my camera sitting on the coffee table nearby. The little green light was blinking, indicating that it was still turned on. I thought about how this video would turn out. When I started recording this morning, I wanted to show you a perfect day. A day full of achievements, neat aesthetics, and smooth transitions. I wanted to write a title like My Perfect Productive Morning Routine, but that would have been a lie. That would have been a fictional story wrapped in nice camera angles. What you are watching today is what actually happened. A broken mug, spilled coffee, a locked door, a missing wallet, a rainy walk, a $6 cinnamon roll, and a quiet evening on the floor. This is my real daily life. It is not always pretty, it is not always organized, it is often confusing and slightly chaotic, but it is mine. And there is a quiet beauty in accepting the messiness of it all. We put so much pressure on ourselves to create perfect lives. We want perfect morning routines, perfect careers, perfect relationships, and perfect homes. We watch other people online and compare our messy behind the scenes with their carefully polished highlights. We feel bad when our days do not look like a curated video feed. But nobody lives in a curated video feed. Everyone drops their mug sometimes. Everyone gets locked out. Everyone has days where they accomplish only one thing off their long to-do list. If you're watching this video today and your day did not go according to plan, I want you to know that it is completely okay. You are not failing. You are just living a human day. Life is not a series of perfect moments strung together. Life is the way we react when things do not go as planned. It is the grace we give ourselves when we fall short of our own expectations. It is the ability to find a quiet moment in a small bakery when everything else is going wrong. As night fell, I washed my dinner bowl. I made a cup of warm chamomile tea. I turned off the main lights in the living room, leaving only a small desk lamp on. The warm yellow light made the room feel cozy and safe. I sat at my desk one last time to write down my thoughts in my journal. I did not write down a list of things I accomplished today. I did not mark off any checkboxes. Instead, I wrote down 3 simple things I was grateful for today. First, the old woman at the bakery who smiled at me when I walked in wet from the rain. Second, the warm cinnamon roll that brightened up a cold morning. Third, the sound of running water when the pipes were finally fixed. When you shift your focus from what went wrong to what small blessings appeared in the chaos, your whole perspective changes. The bad moments do not vanish, but they lose their power to ruin your peace. I am going to wrap up this video here. My tea is warm, my bed is made, and I am ready to close my eyes and try again tomorrow. Tomorrow might be smooth and productive. Or tomorrow might bring another broken